rape and aggravated sexual contact. These two are similar in that they involve the use of unlawful force against a victim, or the threat of death or grievous bodily injury, or if the perpetrator administers an intoxicant directly to the victim, as well as a couple of other things. But the difference between rape and aggravated sexual contact is that rape includes penetration and aggravated sexual contact does not. It just involves touching erogenous zones that are defined in the UCMJ. Sexual assault and abusive sexual contact. These two are different from the first two because they both involve a slightly different type of force. Unlike rape and aggravated sexual contact, these include the threat or a threat of force or fraudulent representation. It involves acts without consent. It involves acts on a victim while the victim is asleep or unconscious. And it involves acts while the victim is incapable of consent. Now, the difference between these two is that sexual assault involves penetration and abusive sexual contact does not. Again, abusive sexual contact just involves the touching of certain erogenous zones. And so that's one way to break down these four offenses. Two of them involve a higher level of force. Two of them involve a smaller level of force. Each of them are distinguished in the type of penetration or lack of penetration that occurs. If it's a restricted report, obviously there is no law enforcement involvement, but there is another system that the Army uses to record these types of restricted reports. That is the catch system. And that system is, again, only for restricted reports. Those records are kept for 10 years, and they're available to help identify patterns. So even if this particular incident was not investigated by law enforcement, if a future incident were to occur, they could look back in this system and identify a pattern and perhaps use that evidence in a future proceeding. For an unrestricted report, if there's a sufficient level of evidence to identify somebody as the subject of the investigation or the perpetrator, that subject would be listed in a system called alerts, and that system is then fed into the National Background Check Information System. So it is the Army law enforcement reporting system, which then feeds into the FBI's criminal background check system.